I'm Kim, a nature photographer based in Scotland.
I believe that photography is a gift that enables us to slow down and connect with the natural world.
Nature is always speaking to us, and when we allow ourselves to slow down and truly listen, she can teach us so much. In this video, I'll share how tuning into our sense of hearing and noticing the subtle sounds of wind moving through the vegetation can enable us to unite with nature and create beautiful, emotive images.
Let's open our hearts and connect with the natural world together.
The more time we spend in nature, the more our relationship with her can flourish. Using our senses can play a big role in this, and the sense of hearing specifically can lead to a much greater connection.
I'm sitting here right now and occasionally we get this breeze coming through and I could begin to hear the slight rustling of the vegetation that's around this pond. And I began looking at it and seeing the movement as it was swaying in the breeze. And as the sun comes in and out of some of the wispy clouds we've got above us, it's allowing for quite a lot of nice contrast and highlighted areas. And then as the breeze is very subtly moving, I just got this idea of panning up and down and doing a little bit of intentional camera movements, really allowing me to connect with the movement of the vegetation, as well as the light that's on it just now. And also this slight sound that I was hearing as the wind goes through it.
I often find when I start engaging with a subject that I will initially photograph it as it is, before delving deeper. The contrast created by the bright sunlight brought out the rich green. I see two figures in this image, one taller and more vitalised, depicting a strong and healthy demeanour, and the other smaller, more submissive figure in need of some nourishment. I then noticed how the light illuminated this leaf and the dancing shadow cast within. Watching it to and fro in the wind, I was able to create a couple of images with the shadow in view. I find these images very emotive and can't help but be drawn into their beauty.
Speaking of getting in touch with the world around you and connecting with your emotions and creating much more heartfelt images, since April I've been writing my first book, and although I don't know quite yet when it will be released, I'm on the editing stage now, so it's not too far until it's ready for publication.
And this Wednesday the 31st of July, I'm going to be announcing the title to my newsletter subscribers.
So if you'd like to be one of the first people to find out what the book's called and also what it's about, you can head over to photographiconnections.com/newsletter to sign up now to the free newsletter. And of course, when the book is ready for release, I will be announcing it on here, but to ensure that you don't miss that announcement, you'll also, by signing up, be able to get a newsletter straight to your inbox so that you can get your copy when the time comes. But I'm mentioning this now because in this book there's various exercises including visualizations, reflections, embodiment exercises so you can really feel how you're feeling and what's going on around you, as well as practical photography exercises to enable you to create much more meaningful, emotive and heart-centered images. When the time comes for this release, it'll fit in very well with what we're speaking about today in this video. So yeah, like I say, this Wednesday, newsletter subscribers will find out what this book's called and what it's about. So yeah, if you don't want to miss that, head over and subscribe now. And yeah, I look forward to releasing this book in the very near future.
Following the creation of the previous images, I began to adopt the technique known as intentional camera movement. By moving my camera in unison with the dancing vegetation, I was able to create these images here. I love how this technique brings out all the different shades of green within the vegetation. Each image is unique and beautiful in its own right, and almost impossible to ever replicate again. The first batch of images still showed the shape within the vegetation, before I moved on to something even more artistic, creating these almost otherworldly images. To me, these resemble pockets of energy and remind me of distant galaxies within the solar system. I love how creative nature photography can allow us to engage with things like this and really spark our imagination. Once complete, my final image was this one here. I love this photograph as I brought in the grasses in the foreground, nestled amongst the green vegetation. All of these images came about because of me engaging my senses. It's now time to share some further thoughts with you on this topic.
If you spend a little bit of time somewhere and you begin to engage your senses, you start to see new opportunities to photograph because of your other senses. And I'm sure many of you already do this naturally. I'm sure you do, because especially if you spend a lot of time in nature and you do a lot of nature photography, then you naturally begin to engage your senses. But I'm aware that there are many, many people who do not always feel able to engage their senses, or who aren't necessarily used to it. And sometimes we need a little bit of guidance to help us to do this. And that's one of the reasons why I created an audio file called the 5 Senses Activation. It's like a recorded meditation of me speaking you through the 5 senses and inviting you to find a beautiful spot in nature to sit and just to quieten yourself down with some deep breathing and then begin to go through all of your senses. But I know when I started to do this practice, I really needed guidance to do it. I also needed a guided audio file. And to my knowledge, I don't think there's any other ones out there that does this and then connects it with photography. So what I've done with this file is I take you through the standard sort of 5 senses, going through each sense, engaging them, listening to nature. And then at the end, I start speaking in photography. And as you're opening your eyes and you're seeing all of the abundance around you that you've felt, heard, smelt, tasted with your other senses, you can then see things to photograph, so many more things. And I amp my voice up at the end to get you excited to pick up your camera and start photographing that beauty around you.
And this was a technique that I used to create the images that you've just seen. And if you'd like to download your copy of the 5 Senses Activation, you can head over to the Photographic Connections website now to do so.
As I'm sitting here right now, I'm thinking about the message that I shared in last week's video about how nature not only is very healing and nurturing for us, but if we approach her from the right place, from a place of love and appreciation and gratitude, that we can also help her heal too. And I was having a conversation with a friend this week, and he was sharing with me how the insect life has massively declined, and I have read about this, but to be able to be reconnected with it through somebody close to me and hear about what they're doing in their garden to attract more insects and to help those insects, it got me thinking a little bit more about life as a photographer. And when we're out, and as you've just seen, the photographs that I created of the beautiful grasses and vegetation here around this pond. It's like when we photograph something, if we can stop for a few minutes and just send thanks and send gratitude to the subject that we photographed, to just say thank you for showing us its beauty. And the more love that we send to it, the more it's likely to flourish. And if you are lucky enough to see insects and bugs, because they are struggling so much, if you can send them love and gratitude when you're with them and show them that you appreciate them being here and their existence, then maybe that energy, that loving energy coming from your heart, may help that bug and insect to flourish and grow, and the species to flourish and grow, so that they can begin to come back. I really feel that we can really make a difference to nature just simply by being in her and cherishing her and spending time with her and ensuring that we are approaching her though from this loving place and this appreciative place. And even if you find yourself having a really challenging day and you're coming out into nature with a lot of negativity or anger or grief, you may notice when you're there that you begin to feel a bit better. And as you are feeling better, rather than just being like, oh, I feel better now, I'm going to go home, pause for a moment and think, gosh, I feel a little bit more grounded now, I feel a little bit more balanced. I feel a little bit happier, a bit lighter. And then just pause for a moment and say thank you. Let her know that her company in your pain and your struggle has been appreciated. And just that little bit of gratitude and appreciation at the end of your interaction with nature, I really, really feel it can make a difference to her. Whatever nature shows you this week, and whatever you feel called to photograph, just pause for that moment before you head home, look at the subject once more, and say thank you.